भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ।
Dear friends, welcome to the study of the Mundaka Upanishad, and during our previous discourse we discussed some very important aspect at the beginning of the study of the Upanishad. The idea was, today in the modern world, we are here to study an Upanishad. We do not know the name of the author. We do not know in which year it was printed. We do not know what the name of the printing company is, the publisher is. Because of these values, we are liable to feel that what is this Upanishad? Therefore, the Upanishad to start with cuts at the root of this question, that the wisdom of this Upanishad has emanated from God Himself. And Lord God of the universe passed on this wisdom contained in this book form known as Upanishad to His firstborn, that is when He first took a human form. And with that human form, in a human manner, He enunciated these ideas. That is how the Upanishad itself starts. Brahma Devanam Pratama Sambhavuva. He was the firstborn. That is, the absolute, the immutable, the eternal, infinite, the divine, took form of a human, and in that form He propagated these ideas. Later on, very, very many years later, maybe hundreds or thousands, we do not know. The historicity is only available to us that we have received it in a printed form, and the National Archives in India has been able to find out a most ancient copy of the Upanishads, the Vedic literature in totality, written with oil and charcoal dust on birch leaves or palm leaves. That is well preserved in the National Archives of India. But historically, we can only compare the ideas and statements with the modern other books and find out whether there is any reference prior to the ideas that we find in this book. So historically, the only way is to compare with other texts and find out the ideas that are here. Are they first available here, or they have a reference elsewhere? So historically, we can be a little bold. What is that? the whole Vedic literature is a huge amount of literature that had been classified in 4 different parts known as Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda. 4. And we find that 4 Vedas are subdivided into 2 parts. One is known as Karma Kanda and the other is known as Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda is that aspect of our life in the ancient days of civilization when human society in the land of the Aryans, Aryavarta, Aryas, in that land we had a very well-disciplined code of behavior pattern. If you want to be one with God after your death, please follow these injunctions correctly, diligently, without any fail. Every day of your life, as long as you are physically capable. When you are not physically capable, let your wife or your son take it up, or you pay to a priest who will do it on your behalf till you die. Now, this self-imposed, determined, disciplined way of life, known as performance of yaga, yajna, etc., etc., is a cause. You are doing something, and you are doing with certain expectations. And the Vedas say, let your expectation be an eternal life in heaven in the proximity of the divine. So, that gave rise to that aspect known as Karma Kanda. Kanda is a section. Half of that is Karma Kanda and the other is Jnana Kanda. The path of knowledge or the section dealing with the way to knowledge and to experience. This is how it is. Historically, it has been found out by the academicians from the language that has been used and the ideas that has been circulated in this Upanishad. It seems to be quite modern compared to the archaic ones. The Isha Upanishad. The language of the Isha Upanishad is very prosaic, to some extent not understandable, archaic. And for your information, there are 2 grammars in Sanskrit language. Pratishaksha, that is the name of the grammar based on which the Vedic literature is constructed. Grammar is the basis of construction of a language. So what happens is, the Vedic language, the ancient Vedic language, is Pratishaksha grammar, which is very much different from Panini's grammar. And Panini's grammar even holds today in constructing new language form in Sanskrit. Now, when we look at the Mundaka Upanishad, we find the language is more akin to Panini than to Pratishaksha. So from the structure of the language, the way it has been mentioned and arranged, we can say it is not as old as the Rig Veda. And that Vedic literature came into existence maybe thousands of years together. So language also moved, ideas also moved, and the Mundaka Upanishad, according to the academicians, not my idea, according to the academicians, the scholars, they say Munda, Prashna and other Upanishads are the modernest of all the Upanishads available. That is why if you have a smattering knowledge of Sanskrit and Panini's grammar, you'll be able to understand what you are studying. From that point of view, historically, it is quite close to us, say 3,500 years ago or 3,000 years ago, just before the advent of Buddha. And there are some later Upanishads, not the ones that Acharya Shankara decided to comment upon. Shakyamuni has been mentioned in those Upanishads. That means those Upanishads, because it mentions Shakyamuni Buddha, that is, it is post-Buddha's birth. But this one, Mundaka, does not have any reference of Buddha. So what we can say is, Buddha was born, it is said, about 500 years or 700 years before Christ. So, say 2,700 years. And there is no mention of Shakyamuni here. That means it was written before the birth of Buddha. So that is how we work it out. In the Gita, we find references of ideas of Mundaka Upanishad. That means Gita comes after Mundaka because it has taken some ideas from this Upanishad and incorporated in its shlokas. That is how the scholars carry on with their research work to place in point of time where does Mundaka come. It is before Buddha, it is before the Bhagavad Gita. That much we can say. That is any time between 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. This is only for academic interest. Let us now go into the content and the teaching of the Upanishad. We have, during our last discourse, taken a lot of time to convince us that we have no reason to doubt the wisdom of this Upanishad. Why? It has been said that it has come from God Himself, and God has handed over His wisdom to His firstborn, Brahma. And by word of mouth, from the teacher to the taught, the teacher and the student becomes teacher later on. He has his students. That is how, generation-wise, it comes to us. And we are here, the inheritors of this treasureless, I would say, treasure of wisdom, priceless wisdom. Now, what is it? That is the authenticity. The next point that we have to very well understand, by the way, let me divert a little. Though today I am taking advantage of modern technology, teaching online, but dears, my deep interest is that 70 years ago, when I was exposed to the traditional method of Guru Shishya Parampara, that is, the Acharya, knower of these ideas, who has experienced it, they pass on their wisdom to the student. I belong to that age. And it was a charming way of education. You had the fullest freedom to interact, to ask, but not for the sake of asking, but for the sake of knowing. You can ask your teacher while studying whatever comes up in your mind. Immediately. You don't have to retain it and ask later on. That was a great advantage for a youngster who has just started hearing. So I would like to, dears, pardon me saying so, that though you are not in a position to ask me right across, but I will try to foresee what questions are arising in your mind. And I will answer it in anticipation of that. That is how I'd like to blend the old traditional, conventional, orthodox way of studying, word to word, sentence to sentence meaning, with relevant to practicing to achieve that goal, not only academic intellect. That is not our goal. We are here to study how to put it in our lives, how to transform our personality, and how to become one with God. So now we have studied the authenticity part of it. Authority and authenticity emanates from God. A. Now, what is that wisdom? He says it is known as Brahma Vidya. And then immediately the next word qualifies it as Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Brahma Vidya, we understand the knowledge, the procedure of self-education by means of which you understand what is Brahman, and after understanding it rationally, you discipline yourself in such a manner with a devoted, disciplined, determined manner. You transform your personality according to that conviction and be and become one with God. The end of the process of evolution. That is what Vidya is all about. So Brahma Vidya means that learning which will rationally tell you what is it, how it is to be attained, and what are the methodologies of attaining it. But he immediately qualifies Sa Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. It is the receptacle, it is the base of all branches of knowledges that humans have developed up till now, is in the process of developing, and will continue to develop till the end of civilization. Everything is based on Brahma Vidya. On the face of it, you will say, Swamiji, it is euphoric. It doesn't mean anything. It's a sky-high praise. Dear, no. In those days, words were not used frivolously. Each and every syllable had a meaning. Why? You didn't want to strain your memory, burden your memory with unnecessary words. Shruti, it was all kept in here. Therefore, each and every word has a deep suggestion. Now, let us get into this. Why Brahma Vidya is being qualified by the word Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Brahma Vidya is the base, the foundation, the receptacle of all learnings that humans have developed up till now, since the dawn of history, is in the process of developing today, and will develop, we do not know what, till the end of human civilization. Sarva Vidya, non-exclusive, all-inclusive. And Brahma Vidya is the receptacle of all that. Is it not riddlesome? Is it not enigmatic? Is it probably high-flown euphoria, praising sky high? Is it so? Or it has some spiritual connotation, spiritual meaning? Let us try to explore that today. Now, Brahma Vidya. I have always repeated to you 4 different small sentences. What are they? Ko hamasmi. Who am I? Who is this first person singular number of English grammar or all grammars? I am. I keep on experiencing my amness. I am aware of my existence, absolutely, incessantly, uninterruptedly. Since I am born till I die. And while dying, I say, I am dying. That is, this I is going through a process known as dying. This I is there. Ko aham asmi. Who am I? That's the first question. The teacher says, Tattvam asi. Thou art that. You are that divine, that absolute. The Brahman. This is the second. In response to the second, Tattvasi, I am well prepared, well trained, well disciplined. I have converted my personality in such a manner that I can absorb this idea. Tattvasi. Aya Mahatma Brahma. Do you mean to say, sir, what I know as I am is in reality Brahman? I am under a cloud of ignorance. I am a cloud of misunderstanding, misconception. Do you mean to say I am that absolute? Teacher says, yes, you are. But don't keep it in the brain. experience it. And what is the end result of that experience? Aham Brahmasmi. I am that. So Brahma Vidya teaches you first rationally, Vidya, our knowledge, a process of self-education. I am rationally convinced that in the whole diverse universe, full of diversity, the Absolute is there everywhere, space and time. There is not a speck of space, not an iota of time where he is not. Though he is immutable, though he is absolute, though he is non-describable, but he is experienced. And the teacher teaches you how to discipline yourself and to reach that goal by a very slow, steady process of evolution. What you think, so you become. You think of that concept of Brahman and identify yourself with that to the process of deep reverential meditation. And by God's grace, by His compassionate grace, you know I am and I am the Absolute. That is Brahma Vidya. Why is it said Sarva Vidya Pratishtha? Don't think it is euphoric. Please listen to me carefully. Forget about Brahma Vidya now. As I am, we are today. I am educating myself as a lawyer. I am educating myself as a doctor, as an engineer, as an administrator, as this, as that, as that, as that. Who is learning? I am learning. And who is that I am? The Brahman. So this I am, before you attain the state of Brahman, you are the receptacle of all learning. And quadrillion people in this world, they are in the process of learning and educating. And everybody says, I am learning. I am educating myself. Where does that education rest? In me. And who am I? Brahman in ultimate reality. Therefore, Sarva Vidya, Pratishtha is Brahma Vidya. Is in me. And that is my true original nature. That is why, I will tell you, please believe me, that is why people who have identified themselves with Brahman, tasya sarvagyatya bijam. If they put their mind anywhere, they see it through and through. He may not be educated tertiary, but he has educated himself in such a manner that wherever he puts his attention and wants to know, that object will demystify itself and he will know A to Z, including what is very commonly known as knowing the future. They predict this will happen to you. This will not happen to you because they have gone through the time. The Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Brahma Vidya means before I reach Brahma Vidya, the whole gamut of human society is acquiring wisdom, acquiring knowledge, acquiring jnanam. And that is based on I know, I am knowing, I am experiencing. That I am in absolute analysis the Brahman. That is why Sarva Brahma Vidya is being qualified with the word Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. So it is not euphoric. It tells you what will happen to you. You will be at par with Ishvara's capacity of knowing past, present and future. Tasya sarvajnatya bijam. The seed is, he knows everything under the sun because he has known the reality. So this is what Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya, Pratishtha means. Next comes, I have discussed it earlier, I'll skip it over, Mahashala Shaunaka. But she asks his question in a different manner, like a commonsensical manner, because he's a man of the world. He is not a philosopher. Is there anything, Lord, by knowing which I will know everything? Is there anything, my Lord? How come he asked this question? He has seen in this world, from a dough of clay, soft, moist clay dough, thousands of different clay materials are prepared. They have a name, they have a shape and a size, they have a utilitarian value, and they have a quality. But in ultimate analysis, it has all come out of the clay. He has seen it in the world. He has also seen gold. And that gold, because of shape, size, name, quality, utilitarian value, that gold is used in 1,000 different manners. Basically, it is gold. He has seen this in this world. And he has also heard, as I keep on telling you, at that time society, this was a talk of the town. Not the talk of the town as of today. He must have heard that there is something known as God or Brahman or Atma, knowing which the thirst of knowing further will cease forever. Putting it the other way, is there anything, O Lord, knowing which my thirst of knowing things of the world will come to an end? I'll be totally satiated. Alam pratyayam. Enough is enough for me. I don't need to know anything of the world. I have understood and experienced the root of this existence. This is how he started. The teacher in return does not snub him or does not give him an equivocal answer. Why? If he had given an equivocal answer, we would not have the Upanishad. The Upanishad is Matrishama, like the mother. In 1,000 and different ways, the mother nurtures and nourishes her child. The Upanishad is compared to a mother to a spiritual aspirant. So, he says, look, my dear, I'll explain it to you from A to Z. From where you are, Shaunaka, I will hold you by your hand, and step by step, I will take you through. I will take you through till you reach the goal. And he takes 3 mundakas and 2 sections in each, that is totally 6 sections, hardly 64 shlokas or verses, to teach you from A to Z the essence of all previous Upanishads into this one. And the teachings are so sharp, they are compared to a razor. If you can absorb it, as the razor sharps off your hair, it will shaves off your hair, the sharp razor, shaves off your hair, the sharp ideas. If you absorb them and build your personality accordingly, it will shave off your ignorance of your true self. The answer to this perpetual question, perennial question, who am I? First person singular number of all principal grammars. Who am I? And that will be answered. So he starts. What does he say? Look, my dear child, in answer to your question, I'll build up my case from the foundation. Dve vidde veditabhye iti hasma yad brahmavido vadanti. Again, Angirasha, the teacher, he quotes, don't say it is my word. There are 2 branches of learning available to a human in this life. And that is what the knowers of Brahman has to say. Whether I am a knower of Brahman may be a question mark to you, but I can say the Brahmagya Purushas, those who have achieved that state, they say that there are 2 branches of learning which you have to learn. What are the 2 branches of learning? Aparavidya and Paravidya. Vidya is learning, which leads to knowing and knowledge. Apara. Para means sublime, supreme climax, beyond which there's nothing else. In our world today, the highest point is the Mount Everest. Above that, nothing exists. Similarly, in the domain of learning, there are 2 different branches. One is not so sublime, but sublime at the same time indispensable. Aparavidya. And the other one is Paravidya, the sublime knowledge, knowing which your thirst, your desire to know and to learn will be totally satiated. Purnavaham, Purnamadaha. You are surrounded by the concept of fulfillment. Nothing else remains to be known. That is how he starts. Then he defines. Apara Vidya Vishaya. What is the object which is available to me through Apara Vidya? All the branches of knowledge, as I told you before, Since the dawn of his civilization, humans have created. They are in the process of creating and learning, and then they will continue this process till the end of human civilization. The whole gamut of it is the subject matter of apara vidya, not so sublime, but indispensable and partially sublime. That is all that is enclosed, enshrined in Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, the 4 Vedas and 6 ancillaries, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotisham, iti. 4 Vedas and 6 ancillaries, Vedangas. They are the storehouse of apara vidya, the karma kanda of it. Don't make that mistake. The karma kanda aspect of Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotish. 6 ancillaries. All that which teaches you how to perform yaga, yajna, etc. with a motivation of living with God eternally after this life is over. Because of that, I conduct my life pattern according to these injunctions. From the modern point of view, all that falls under tertiary knowledge, university knowledge, research, and etc., in all aspects and branches of knowing, falls under apara vidya, worldly pursuits. What is paravidya? Literally, the sublime knowledge. Yaya, by means of which that vidya, paravidya, if followed, if studied, if assimilated and absorbed, by that vidya, that aksharam purusham adhigamyate. Adhipurvak gamadhatu. Gamadhatu is a verb. Adhi is a prefix. It means slowly and slowly, through the process of evolution, is arrived at. Through the process of evolution, slowly but steadily, following certain injunctions and code of conduct and behavior and discipline, you will reach that goal. What is that goal? Akshara Brahma, immutable, absolute reality. That is paravidya and this is aparavidya. The worldly pursuit of wisdom and the pursuit of that education which will evolve my personality slowly but steadily with devotion, dedication and determination. This egocentric human personality will lose its ignorance and find out its true identity. I am Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. That is Paravidya Vishaya. He will then slowly and slowly define what is that Akshara Brahma. And how does he define there? From 2 points of view, negative and positive. Let us read Yattat Adresham. Shloka number 6 of the first section of the first Mundaka. How does he explain that akshara vadigamyate? What is that akshara? How do I have a vague concept to start with? A vague concept. Tatastha lakshana. Well, I'll come to that later on. Let me say, a vague concept. I can't see it, I can't hear it, I can't touch it, smell it, taste it. It is beyond all my 5 sense organs, is beyond my perception. But I am. This experience of mind never leaves me. I am everlasting during my span of life. So listen now carefully. First two lines are a negative definition. Yattat, that which is. I can't define it, but I can define it in a different manner. Tatastha. What is that? Yattat adresham. Not visible. Agrajyam. Not perceptible by your skin, touch. Agrajyam. Agotram. It has no roots that I can say, oh, I know your father. I have not known you before. I know your father. Agotram abarnam. Without any color. Achakshushrotram. It doesn't have ears, it doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have hands, it doesn't have feet, legs. Jattat adresham, agrajyam, agotram, abarnam. Achakshushrotram, tat apanipadam. A means not. Without. That is this human concept of body with which I am involved by saying, I am. And whenever I say I am, I'm aware of this mind, body, mind complex. So, he says here, don't make that mistake. That Aksharam Brahma does not have the body like yours. But on the other hand, Nityam, eternal in time, Vibhum, all expansive in space, Sarvagatam, it has permeated everything that you think in this world, grossest to the finest. Sarvagatam, Shukshmam, subtlest of the subtle. Jattadadrashamagrajamagotramavarnam, Achakshushrotram tadapanipadam, Nityam Vibhum Sarvagatam Shushukshmam. At the same time, the biggest statement here is, which will keep a bell ringing in our mind. If that is so, how can he be? Tat abhyayam yat bhuta yonim paripashyanti dhira. Dhira Purusha means those who have known and experienced Brahman, they see that Brahman in this manner. Those who have realized the Brahman as their own true original nature, they see him as without eyes, without ears, without sense of touch, without sense of taste, without everything that you call your body, Karmendriya and Gyanendriya. No. What is yes? Nityam. It is everlasting, beyond the concept of time. Vibhum, ever present. There's not a speck of space where he is not. Sarvagatam, and he is to be found permeating everything of this world. What does it suggest? I belong to this world, I am a part of this world, and he is in me also. Sarvagatam. I am a part of Sarva, everything. He is in me also. But Shushushvam, subtlest of the subtle. Abhyam, it is immutable, never changes, it is eternal. Yat bhuta yoni, underline this word, which is the foundation of all that is manifest in this world. It comes out of that, goes back to that. Tasmat jayate, tasmin liyate, tat jalam shanta upasate. Yat bhuta yonim dhira paripashyanti, parisamantat pashyanti. Pari is a prefix. Pashyanti is to see, to experience. How does a Brahmagya live in this world? He has not to make any effort anymore. I am is no more the first person singular number of English grammar. It is the eternal existence permeating everywhere. How does his day-to-day behavior pattern follows? He sees the divine everywhere, with respect, with love, with sharing and caring, sympathizing and empathizing. He interacts with himself everywhere. There is no two for him. It is he alone. And he enjoys in this diversity. Paripashyanti, parisamantat, absolutely all-inclusive, no exclusion. He lives in this world, interacting with the divine all the time. That is the subject matter of Paravidya. This is where it will reach you. This is how he explains to you. Now, I will end up today with an example. Whenever you will find in our scriptures something is being said which with the farthest stretch of your imagination you are not able to conceive. You say, yes, sir, I understand what you say. It is beyond me. Because it is something which is really beyond us today. So as I told you, Upanishad is like a mother. Nourishes you, nurtures you, makes you strong to reach the goal. He finds out an example for you. And I've told you before, but I'll repeat it again. Where these words have to be repeated to create an indelible memory in your mind. What is an example? We say an example. What is an example? An example has been defined in two different ways. Jasmin arthe buddhi samyam sa drishtanta. Definition of an example. Jasmin arthe. I pick and choose an object where buddhi samyam, conformity of our thinking, your thinking and my thinking coalesce together does not contradict. Such an object, if I can pick up, is a correct example. And immediately that example to have an idea, that example will give you an idea, will have a capacity to understand that vagueness of Jad Bhuta Jodi Paripashyanti Dira. And there is another definition, Yatra Lokika Parikshakanam Darshanam Nabhyahannate Sadrishtanta. A little elaborate. What does it mean? The same thing. Yatra. I picked up an object. Lokika, that the person who wants to learn. Parikshaka, the person who is teaching. Darshanam nabhyahannate. Our outlook do not clash. It coalesces. That is a correct example. And don't stretch it beyond that point of exemplification. Don't stretch it. So, he has found out an example for us. Jathorna nabhi srijate grinnate cha. A. Second example. Jatha prithibhyam oshada sambhavanti. Third example. Jatha purushat keshalovani. Tatha aksharat sambhavati ihavisham. Three jathas. As for example, as for example, as for example. Similar to that tatha, that aksharat, this whole universe comes up. What are those examples? First example is a spider. If you have seen a spider spinning its web, you will find the spider does not go to a supermarket to buy thread. He produces the thread from within himself. And if you have ever stood patiently by the side of a spider spinning its web, you will find from itself, from a glandular secretion of his body, he draws a thread. Then at the end of the thread, he keeps on knocking his head and see whether it is approved or not. If approved, he comes down and draws another thread. And he again examines it. And having read this, I did watch a spider. You know what it does? If that thread which he has drawn is not parallel to the previous one, he will crawl back on the thread and absorb it back. Redraw it again. Now, this is what it is. A spider does not go to a supermarket to buy thread. It creates the thread from itself. And he has the capacity to produce that thread. It has the capacity to absorb that thread. What is the point of exemplification? That a spider itself is competent enough to create something apart from him. That is a point of contention. Aksharat Sambhavati Iha Bisham. That's what has been said before. Tatha, similarly, from that Akshara Brahma, this whole cosmos has come out. How could it be possible? It is immutable, it is absolute, it is infinite, it is eternal, and you say from it the whole world. This diversity, can you imagine the infinite number of diversities in this world? And you say it has come up from that? Is it possible? Wait a while. I will find out a worldly example where the point of contention is, how can Akshara be the cause of this diverse universe? How? See a spider. It doesn't go to a marketplace to buy threads. It produces from itself, and if not happy, it draws itself. It comes out of it, it goes into it. Tasmat jayate. This whole cosmos has come out of it. Tasmin liyate. It goes back to it. Tat jalam shanta upasate. Jakar of jayate and lakar of liyate. Tat jalam is a symbolic word. Shanta, a person who's upasate. He concentrates on that. The second, this is Salakshana. It is the same thing that has come out. But there's such a diversity in the world. A piece of granite and ether. Subtlest of the subtlest is an ether, and grossest of the gross is a piece of granite, stone. How is it possible? Jatha, he says, Prithibhyam Oshadaya Sambhavanti. Jatha, another example. What is this example based upon? From this earth, our mother earth, Oshadaya Sambhavanti. Herbs, trees, grass, everything, moss, algae, everything comes out of this earth, Mother Earth. All of them are different. They are nurtured by the earth, they stay on the earth, and after a time span, they decay, they degenerate, and mixes up with the earth. This example tells you, don't question how can diversity, how can diverse things can come out of the immutable. Here's an example. Earth is immutable. And finally, he gives you another example. Jatha Purushat Keshalomani. Humans, the males or the females. Keshalomani, the body hair and the hair on the skull. It continuously comes. You shave off, it still comes. Continuity. Here the point of contention is continuity. Continuity, diversity, and salakshana means it doesn't need any other cause. It is himself both intelligent cause and material cause. So now you see, dears, how cogently, how with great clarity the Upanishad teaches you to divert your attention to these types of argumentation, these types of acquisition of knowledge. And this knowledge will ultimately lead you to oneness with your true original nature. Thank you, dears. I'm sorry I've taken a lot of your time today, but these are the subjects. If I leave halfway, it will be really totally lost. Now I am satisfied that you have understood when the Upanishadkar says, Dhira tadbhuta yonim paripashyanti. How do they see it? And I am unable to even understand how could an immutable thing be the cause of mutated things? How could the absolute be the cause of diversity? Here you are. I give you example of an Urnanabi spider, of Mother Earth, and of a human body. The Urnanabi is self-reliant, doesn't go anywhere to produce things. Second is diversity. Comes from the earth, stays in the earth. Earth is immutable and all this comes up and goes. And the third is continuity. Keshalovani from a Purusha. So now, making the groundwork, he will go further ahead to teach you how to understand oneness of the universe. That will be the next day's subject. Thank you, dears. Thank you ever so much.
Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.